Hello, everyone. My name is Nicholas Barnard, and this presentation is going to be covering PM 2.5 levels and associated health impacts over time in the state of Michigan, particularly Detroit, due to its manufacturing past and complex social history, I'll say. There were a couple of mass exoduses due to collapse in manufacturing output, so we're going to examine how those might have had effects on PM 2.5 levels. A little background on PM 2.5 stands for particulate matter that measures 2.5 microns in diameter or less. As you can see on the right, that is extremely small. A strand of hair just dwarfs it. A PM10 particle is very small as well, but much larger than the PM 2.5 particle, and thusly it cannot be lodged as deeply in lung tissue when inhaled. PM 2.5 particles are actually small enough to enter the bloodstream through specific pathways, and it is not a specific contaminant. It's a classification. So any particle this size is PM 2.5 because it is so small and easily enters the bloodstream. So Michigan is known for Detroit automobiles. All of the famous individuals that came out of Detroit and other parts of Michigan, and then not its capital, Lansing. When you think Michigan, you think Detroit. Um, there's no way around it. I didn't even know that Lansing was the capital, so that was a surprise to me. This is a picture on the left here of Lansing's Capitol building. Just a little reference for what the state's like. The research questions hoping to be answered here are: how effective have air quality regulations been since the 2000s? That's the extent of our data. Comes from around 2001 to 2014 off the tracking network. What impact did the downfall of industry have on PM 2.5 levels in the state? If this might be more impactful than the air quality regulations, in which have had a greater impact on PM 2.5 levels, and what associated costs have they had for society at large? So the fall and rise of Michigan. Michigan was an economic powerhouse throughout the 20th century until around the 1970s due to the oil crises, a lot of foreign competition, and the Clean Air Act requiring catalytic converters to be installed on vehicles. That's why we need emissions tests today. This is the only state with negative population growth from 2000 to 2010. Fortunately, this leveled out in the mid-20 teens, but manufacturing output suffered in the '08 recession. This rebounded very quickly. It went from just below $55 billion in manufacturing output to over 100 from 2009 to 2018. There's been consistent growth and then crime reduction since then. The state of the air in Michigan, particularly Detroit, is difficult to describe. There were multiple economic booms in the 20th century. Henry Ford's assembly line caused automobile manufacturing to explode, and the city became famous as the Automobile City. Manufacturing grew rapidly, as did smog and air pollution. Um, and like I mentioned in the title slide, the Great Lakes weather patterns affect air quality in very unique ways, essentially massive heat sinks. You'll have delayed frosts caused by the water remaining cold despite the ground around it heating up, and then the opposite effect of lake effect snow, where the water is still warm from the summer, but as the air and ground cool down, that precipitation is pulled out as snow. Another issue regarding the city's air problems is its particularly disjointed public transit systems. It has no subway system at all, and while one was attempted in the 70s, it never came to be due to infighting and political and logistic nightmares that would have come of it. And that's the current problem. They're trying to implement a subway system today, but it's difficult to get all of these companies to work together. And multiple companies means multiple bus passes. So if you don't have a personal vehicle, you have to buy multiple passes, get on multiple trips just to make your way around town, or you have to concede to their power and just get your own personal vehicle. More cars on the road means more PM 2.5, and since these bus routes are so disjointed, they're likely not producing any benefits in terms of reduced automobile usage. The Detroit area air quality is poor. I'm not going to beat around the bush there. But the high ozone days are increasing, and the PM 2.5 levels, while relatively high, are actually dropping. And you can see that in the animation. You just click forward on the slide. It's behind the We have two maps that were pulled from the Environmental Health Public Tracking Network. One from 2001, one from 2005. On the next slide, it'll be 2010, 2014. We had to skip a year because 2001 to 2014 was the limits of the data. And as you can see, the hatching, that is interpolated. So we're not positive. We're very unsure probably for the northwestern portions, as some of them are entirely interpolated from maybe two different air quality stations. But as you can see, it reduces from 2001 to 2005 even. And we'll see some further reduction in the next slide. In these, we have one from 2010 to 2014, and you can see similar reductions as from 2005 to 2010, 2010 to 2014. But Detroit actually decreased. The Detroit area stayed around 10.3 to 12.7, but areas to the northwest actually declined to 9.3 to 10.3, just northwest of the city, but then increased back to 10.3 to 12.7 micrograms per cubic meter in 2014. So perhaps a more invasive yearly analysis would yield some better results, maybe allow us to predict why this happened. Maybe it was a dry year, maybe there was particularly heavy lake effect snow, something like that. But we just simply don't have the data. So while PM 2.5 levels have been declining regionally, they've also been declining nationally. So this chart on the right shows the PM 2.5 air quality in upper Midwest United States, where Michigan is. Has a mean green line there, and then the 90th and 10th percentiles above and below it. So fairly compact error bars there. And the decline is extremely noticeable. There was a spike in around 2005, but we've been getting better since then. Regionally, nationally, the national chart looks very similar. And the Clean Air Act in 1990, we have the final issue of the PM 2.5 regulation from EPA, which set the maximum limit at 12 micrograms per meter cubed annually. And then the Obama Clean Power Plan, which hopes to shut down multiple coal power plants from 2015 to 2030, should reduce PM 2.5 levels, at least from stationary point sources. Can't really stop cars right now, but stationary point sources we can control. So in conclusion, Michigan has had a rough past. The assembly line, invented by a Detroit native, Henry Ford, brought with it extreme economic growth and industrial capacity, but specifically in automobiles. And when that industry saw fuel crises, foreign competition, and regulations in the 70s, it saw a collapse. Detroit was hit extremely hard. Attempts were made to revitalize the city, but they weren't successful until very recently. The city filed for bankruptcy in 2013. But growth and crime have been declining. Growth has been increasing, crime has been declining recently. Um, and the air quality is improving despite that recent growth. As we saw earlier, the growth from 2008 onwards, it nearly doubled its manufacturing output in billions of dollars. So it's obviously not the industrial activities specifically, it's how they're regulated and maintained, I believe. Because despite this growth, regulations have kept air qualities at a manageable level.